So last week, when I was researching characters for my Forgotten Toys of Toy Story Part 4 video, I stumbled across one character who wasn't a toy at all, and it got me thinking, whatever happened to him? I, of course, am talking about Andy's dog, Buster. Because he's a dog and not a toy, it didn't quite fit into a standard Forgotten Toys episode. Plus, his fate is, well, you'll see. Depending on how you look at it, it could be a bit of a bummer. So in this video, I'm going to break down his hidden timeline and share what I think ultimately happened to him. It's a bit of a mashup between my Forgotten Toys and my Timeline series. So we'll call this one Toy Story Timeline, What Happened to Buster? But before we dive into Buster, if you love deep dives into pop culture history, hit that subscribe button to follow my channel, Tech Talk Toys, where you can catch the first 4 installments of the Forgotten Toys of Toy Story and plenty other cool videos coming out very soon. Also, if you have a suggestion for a toy or character you want to see featured in the Forgotten Toys of Toy Story Part 5 or Toy Story Timeline in the next few months, leave a comment below. And hey, if you really love this content, leaving a super thanks goes a long way to support the hustle. Alright, so now let's look back at Buster's history. In the original Toy Story, Buster appears at the very end as a surprise Christmas present. The toys all share a laugh like, uh-oh, Woody and Buzz just fought all through the movie for Andy's attention, and now how are any of us supposed to compete for a puppy?
Oh, what is it? What is it? Wow, a puppy!
Well, believe it or not, he was added at the very end of the production as a narrative sequel hook. Buster is a miniature dachshund, otherwise known as a wiener dog. The thing that stands out most about this breed is their unique shape. They were originally bred to be fierce subterranean hunters. Their long bodies, short legs, and paddle-like paws were specifically designed to allow them to crawl straight down to battle badgers and foxes. Even their loud, booming bark was bred into them so their owners could hear from them way down inside the earth. Now, true to his breed, Buster is energetic, low-slung, and fiercely loyal. The writers chose the dachshund specifically because of that long, low-to-the-ground look, which makes him look less like a predatory wolf and more like a companion. They purposely gave him the big, droopy eyes and soft, rounded features so that when he does interact with the toys, he looks curious rather than hungry. Now, when Pixar was developing Toy Story 2, the animators were legitimately terrified of Buster. If you look at his movement, they kept him very grounded, so he doesn't do a ton of jumping or complex acrobatics in the first few scenes. They had to invent a new rigging system just to get his spine to move fluidly like a dachshund's rather than a stiff wooden box. It was one of the first times that Pixar had to figure out how to make a creature move with weight and squishiness. Now, even though Buster sounds like a completely natural dog, his barks, pants, and whines weren't just random stock audio or field recordings. Buster was voiced by Frank Welker, though he went uncredited in the films. If that name sounds familiar, it's because Frank Welker is voice acting royalty. He is the legendary voice behind Fred Jones in Scooby-Doo, Megatron in Transformers, Nibbler in Futurama, and even Abu the monkey in Aladdin. So Pixar brought him in specifically because animal vocalizations are an art form, and Welker knew how to give Buster that highly expressive, slightly goofy personality without making him sound like a generic cartoon character. Now, here's a fun fact. Buster actually got his name from a real-life dog owned by Toy Story sound designer Gary Reedstrom. In fact, it was that very same real-life Buster who supplied the vocal sound effects for Scud, the terrifying bull terrier next door in the first movie. Now, Toy Story 2 is the next time when we see Andy's pup, where he makes a dramatic entrance into the playroom. The massive strength of strongman Rocky Gibraltar is no match for the pure energy of an excited dachshund. Now, 4 years had passed between the release of Toy Story and Toy Story 2, but in the Toy Story universe, it's only been about a year, maybe 2. Andy is around 8 years old, which puts Buster right around 2 or 3 years old. Buster plays a much larger role in the film. Depending on the breed, I'm sure some dogs are a toy's worst nightmare, one step away from turning them into an unwilling chew toy, but not Buster. He's incredibly friendly, and he clearly knows that they're actually alive. and yet he isn't freaked out by it all. In fact, he takes commands from Woody like he's just one of the crew. Not only do they play games, but Buster even plays dead for Woody, showing either massive respect for the cowboy or proving that Woody is the Caesar Milan in the toy world. The bad news, it seems that Buster has a habit of hiding items, and it's heavily implied earlier in the film that he was the one who had Woody's hat. Now, of course, Buster's biggest moment is the dramatic yard sale rescue. Woody rides Buster down the stairs to save Wheezy from the bargain bin. Buster pulls off the mission flawlessly. Woody gets left behind, and interestingly enough, that's the last major action that we see from Buster in the movie. Although, in the very last scene, you can see him running around in the driveway as Molly begins to learn to walk. And that takes us to Toy Story 3. A core theme of this film is the change and the passage of time. Roughly 10 years passed between the second and the third movies. Andy, who started the series as a little kid, is now 18 years old, heading off to college. That puts Buster at an advanced dog age of 12 to 13 years, and boy, does it show. When Woody tries to call Buster over for their old tricks, he's taken aback. Buster is old, slow, and honestly, he's pretty fat. He can't pull off the old routines anymore, and he kind of just collapses into a heavy nap. Father Time is undefeated, even in the Pixar universe. So seeing Buster in this state is a brilliant visual clue from Pixar to remind us that, yeah, a lot of time has passed and things have changed. We later see Buster sniffing around in Andy's room and coming up right to Mrs. Potato Head's eye as Andy realizes Woody and the other toys are missing. The very last scene that we see Buster is right before Andy leaves for college. Molly walks the dog into the room and tells Buster to say goodbye. Andy gives Buster a nice hug, telling him that he's going to miss him. And looking back, it almost feels like this was Pixar's way of having us, the audience, say goodbye to not just Buster, but to Andy's family household as a whole. Now, when we jump to Toy Story 4, only 1 year has passed in the story. We don't get a single clue about Buster, but we know he was already hitting a major physical wall just 12 months prior. Now, with Toy Story 5 pushing the timeline out another 2 to maybe 4 years, Bonnie is older, technology is taking over, and Buster is completely out of the picture. So how old does that make Buster by the current timeline? It puts him somewhere around 15 to 17 years. Now, the average span for a dachshund is about 12 to 16 years. They're a resilient breed, but when Pixar showed Buster heavily overweight and struggling with what looks like arthritis at age 12, they were accurately depicting a senior dog hitting the lower end of that lifespan, considering that extra weight puts massive strain on a dachshund's spine. So what was the ultimate fate of Buster? Since the movies don't explicitly tell us, there are two ways you can look at it. Now, if you want to be optimistic, you can imagine that Buster somehow defied the odds, lived to a ripe old age, and is still resting comfortably on the couch with Andy's mom and sister Molly. Maybe they're even sneaking him some leftover chicken nuggets and fries from Poultry Palace, who knows. But if you're a realist, the biological math tells a different story. It's highly unlikely that by the time the toys are settling in with Bonnie, that poor Buster hasn't already crossed the Rainbow Bridge. He lived a full, happy dog life and saw his boy off to college. And like former Disney animator turned legendary competitor Don Bluth once famously titled his film, "All Dogs Go to Heaven." So perhaps Buster is watching over Andy from Pixar heaven, whatever Andy is up to these days. Now, looking at the situation under realistic terms, I think it's fair to say that Buster has probably passed away. But then again, we're talking about a world where the toys come to life and talk when humans leave the room, so who knows? But that is the timeline of Buster. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And again, if you have suggestions for more character deep dives in the Toy Story Timeline series, let me know with a comment below. So I will see you next time.